Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle. Today we have with us Carlos Scarpero, who is an email marketing expert. Carlos, welcome to the program.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for the invite.
So email is, I think a lot of people feel that in email marketing, is like an oxymoron in the sense that nobody reads emails anymore. It's all social media. So dispel that myth and rumor for us.
Absolutely, people read emails. Think about how people's days began. For the vast majority of people, what is the very first thing they do is read their email. What's the one thing that we all have in common through our entire day is reading email, and email marketing is part of that. People say, oh, yeah, I don't read it, but people read it. It definitely still is big business.
I agree 1,000%, and no matter how much social networking and social media platforms come into play, because that's very powerful. I think a lot of people, I see marketers talking about this often, but sometimes people that are really jumped in with 2 feet on the social marketing side of things, they miss out on this. When you have a huge audience on social media, and just pick a platform, it doesn't matter, but Facebook, I've got a bazillion likes on my Facebook page. Don't rest easy on that, because Facebook can change anything at any point, and you don't have that control. Whereas if you do a nice job with moving some people from your Facebook to say, hey, download our report and get them on your email list, now that's an owned list. So talk a little bit about the asset of being able to communicate with people on email. And of course, you don't want to spam, you don't want to email every other second, but I think that people don't really realize that when you have a huge following on social media, they're not seeing everything that you're putting out there, because they're also following a whole lot of other people.
Oh, well, it's even worse that, for a marketer, if you want people on Facebook to read your messages, you're basically going to have to pay Facebook to boost the post, because I don't know what the stat is, but it's less than 10% of your posts are actually seen by the audience.
Yeah.
And so it's just a very, very small percentage. And I know every year there seems to be some new algorithm change or some new thing that happens where Facebook is cutting it more and more for the organic reach. And so, if you're trying to run your business relying on Facebook without paying them money, you're just going crazy. And so by the time you spend all the money, you might as well just build an email list and build a real asset. Because email marketing platforms are not that expensive at all.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, we could probably spend about 3 days straight on talking about the intricacies of email marketing and doing it the right way. But one thing that pops into my mind is I think that when people have that email list, they get a little antsy on, I want to make it profitable. I hear it's so great, so I want to make sales and I want to sell. And I think that's a major mistake, because you need to use that as a communication platform, not a 1,000% sales platform. So what do you advise in that realm?
Absolutely. And when I see people that aren't getting results from email marketing, it's typically that they either don't send often enough, or the few messages they are sending are so sales focused that people just tune them out. And so definitely, a good 70-30 ratio is usually about what I recommend, about 70%, just super informative and 30% selling. And send a lot of content, maybe a blog post you've written, or a blog post somebody else has written, or an invitation to an event you're hosting, that type of thing. And then about 30% of the time you can do something a little more salesy, a little more, hey, with a call to action, let's do this. You can hire me, or whatever it is you're trying to do with it.
So what are your thoughts around getting personal in your email communication and building a relationship that way? Because I think there's 2 schools of thought. One is, be transparent and authentic, and let people see behind the scenes and get to know you. And then there gets to the point where it's just like TMI and let's stick to business. So I know there's a happy medium. What do you find is the best?
Well, it's interesting because I had thyroid cancer in 2012, and I was really reluctant to really open up about it. And finally, I just did. I was thinking, you know what, I should just open up about it and see what happens. And those emails that were like totally not marketing related, just talking about my health, my email list is all business oriented. So I was really concerned. I didn't know what they were going to do, but it was totally different than what I expected. Those had the highest open rate, highest engagement. People replied back that, oh, I'm so sorry to hear about this happening, and you're in my prayers and that kind of stuff. And it was just really interesting that it's really the opposite of what people expect. People think they're going to unsubscribe, but what I found, when you open it up and be real and be authentic and just say, here's who I am, here's what I'm all about. But people respond to that. People want to know there's a real person on the other end of that email.
Yeah, I agree, and I kind of think of it in myself personally, and I know that we can have 10 people on with us right now and get 72 opinions. So it's this is just an opinion, but I kind of look at it like salt. Salt can help flavor some food, but about the time you put a little too much on there, then it's like, ugh, that's just crossed the line. So I think having some flavor, of personal flavor here and there, kind of like in passing or whatever. But I think that if it gets to be too much all the time in your communication, even on social media, I mean, we can even make that application there. But in email marketing, I feel like it needs to be a flavor of personal style and flair and a little bit on your personal side, but it needs to be business focused because, after all, that's what it's all about, right? I mean, where do you find that it needs to draw the line between, okay, I mentioned something, but it doesn't need to be part of every single email? Right.
Well, good email copywriting is what storytelling. So if you're able to tell a story, whether it's a client story or a prospect story, or maybe this guy didn't buy, or even a customer that complained. Maybe you had a customer that misunderstood your offer and they sent their complaint message, and then you sent an email telling the story and how you turn this customer around. Those types of things. People get intrigued and people get sucked into the soap opera. Russell Brunson has this thing basically called the soap opera email, where basically you're creating this continuous story and this continuous loop of curiosity of people want to know what happens next. And when you watch Netflix, what they do at the end of every episode of some big drama, it's, you got to watch the next one, and then you just kind of suck you in.
Yeah, the old cliffhanger.
The old cliffhanger, exactly. So, I mean, good email marketing is really being able to create the cliffhanger and get them excited about what's coming up the next day.
Yeah, I agree, and it's almost like I think you need to have. I know I've heard it said many times on the social media side, having a editorial calendar. So on Monday, post up this, and Tuesday. So in email, maybe you need to say, if I'm going to email X number of times per month, and let's just pick the number 3 or 2 or whatever. Hey, the first time I'm going to make this one a little bit focused on this and that, and the next one, then we can focus it on. But I do feel like you hit on something really interesting, because people like to know case studies and applications. And whatever you're selling, you can personalize it with stories, because I think story selling is huge. But I think the case study analysis of how I sell widgets. Here's how my client, Joe Schmo, used my widget to increase his or decrease their. And I think that in that email, you can go, hey, you know what? The other day that I was talking to a client of mine, and they said something really interesting. What they found was, and when you're opening that way, people are reading it like a story, and they're getting engaged, but then there's actual numbers and facts, and they were able to lower their whatever by 32%, and here's how they did it. Do you find that something like weaving in not only storytelling but also case studies in emails is effective, not just attached as the PDF case study, read it, let me know if you have any questions?
Yeah, definitely don't want to do the PDF case study. Definitely want to put it in there. People aren't going to open the PDF. But, the old sales adage, facts tell, stories sell.
Yeah.
When I first got into sales 20-plus years ago, that's what they used to always say. I still remember that to this day. The more you can leave a story in there, and the more you can put that in there, and maybe you do multiple testimonials. So day 1 is testimonial 1, and day 2 is maybe a different industry. Day 3 is the third industry. And so maybe the guy on day 1 reads, he goes, oh, well, that doesn't really apply to me. That's an auto muffler shop. I'm a realtor, or whatever it is. But then day 2, they're like, oh, that one's just like me. That's my situation. Yep. oh, maybe I should get this. Yeah, and the more you can figure that out, the more you listen to your audience. And the other big thing is understanding their frustrations. And so when you meet with prospects in person or on the phone, find those common objections and then create email content around that. Like, oh, so-and-so said it's too expensive, but here's why it's not. Or, here's the rate of return. Or, here's that case study of why it's worth it to get this product or service.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think a lot of businesses think, oh, email marketing, newsletter or /e-zine. And number one, I think that's 1990s. I think people need to stop putting on their website, sign up for our newsletter, because nobody wants a dumb newsletter. They get enough emails anyway. But if you say to someone, like let's say you sold those widgets, hey, get on our VIP super secret invite list where we send out, rock bottom, flash sales where you can save a lot of, whatever you want to say, but, get on that alert list. And now someone might do that, and then you can now start sprinkling in some, of the things we've been talking about. But talk a little bit about email marketing comparing an e-blast, like the old school, e-zine, once a month I'm going to send out this, convoluted newsletter. Nobody wants that, but contrast that with some marketing automation where you can really get a little bit more fancy, and then I think you can even move the needle depending on what service you use and how detailed you want, to where when someone clicks on a link in your email, now the automated service provider puts a little tag, and then you can put them in a different sequence so that now they're this much interested, but if they click on this, and something else, now they're in a whole different sequence. So you talk a little bit about sending out a blast compared to some good automation opportunities.
Yeah, so the old school blast is, we're going to send out that email once a month, and that's hard to list it all, and jam it through there, and send that email with 15 different topics in there. That's the big frustration I have with some of the prospects I've worked with, that they want to send one email a month but have 15 different things they want to talk about, as opposed to, today with cell phones and with social media, people have just this really, really short attention span. And I've found, and other people have found, that if you send email more often but with only one topic and one subject line and one call to action, it gets just so much better results. And back to what you're saying with marketing automation, with that automation, you can create segmentation. So, for example, I'm a local marketer mostly. I'm here in Dayton, Ohio, though I have clients around the country. But sometimes I want to promote a local event. I might promote something that's coming up at the chamber right up the road from me, and somebody in Denver could care less about what I'm doing. So I have an automation now that says, if you're in Dayton, Ohio, or in the surrounding community, tag them with local. And that way, if I have something local I'm promoting, use that tag and send them a really relevant message. And what I've found with email marketing is that people that are doing poorly with it, or people that have a lot of unsubscribes, typically it's bad targeting. It's not that people don't want your message, it's people don't want bad messages. I remember a situation that I'm on LinkedIn, and I'll get these invitations to a networking event in London.
Yeah.
London, England, that evening, but I'm in Dayton, Ohio, and I'm like, okay, that means nothing to me. I'm not going to go to your business card mixer in London tonight. I don't have my Learjet to fly out there.
Yeah.
So that type of thing, where people don't segment their lists out, and then they wonder why people are upset. Well, they're upset because they're getting junk in their email. And I have to sort through it.
That's a huge point there, and I think, kind of like I said earlier, we could probably spend 4 days talking about just that one thing. But here's something to confirm what you just said. Not that anyone doubts it, because it's exactly spot on. It takes just a little teeny bit of work, let's say, to get that segmentation set up, but it pays off huge. I have a client that does industrial work all across the country, and I send out a campaigns for them through their email account, and I noticed the open rates are good. They're pretty good. But I'll tell you, when there's an opportunity in a certain state, and I go through and grab that list of, whatever state, Arizona contacts, and it might only be 73 people, right, in their vast list. It might only be going to 73. But that open rate, when I put in the subject line, Arizona opportunity for X, Y, Z, that open rate skyrockets, like quadruples, because people in that state see the subject line and they see, opportunity for, and then that topic interests them, they'll open it. And to me, that means that it's speaking right to them. And in another sense, your email service provider wants to see open rates increasing because that helps deliverability as a whole as well.
Absolutely.
What we talked about kind of segmenting geographically. What are some other automation things that you would recommend for maybe not the newbie user, but maybe a more intermediate user, where when an email goes out, they click on something and then something else can happen to kind of deepen that engagement? Right.
The big one is by links. So what you can do is click here. I did this one. I don't know if you remember the Choose Your Own Adventure books. I grew up in the 80s, and they had these Choose Your Own Adventure little children's books where basically you read a little story, and then it says, if you're going to do A, go to page 52. If you're going to do B, go to page 75. And you can really do that in email marketing and really get customized. I did one just almost on a whim, and I created like this whole Choose Your Own Adventure email sequence. But basically is, if you click here if you're a business, click here if you're a solopreneur, and being able to segment and tag, and now all of a sudden you're delivering exactly what they want, exactly what they want to know about, and you're giving the relevant messages, and so then the open rate increases, the conversion rate increases, the referrals, everything increases, and you're giving them what they want. The email service provider gets what they want. Everybody's happy. That's when people get lazy and don't do it. That's where the problems happen.
Yeah, and I think that being able to talk the same language, like if you're from the South and you talk really slow, and then you talk to someone from New York and they talk really fast, there could be a little bit of a dissonance there. That's just a basic example. But if you know a little bit about your audience and you know that they clicked on this, which segmented them into some bucket, and they are a female solopreneur, and you then have a sequence that goes out if they've clicked on that now the next email goes, hey ladies, you know how tough it is being out on your own? Here's a resource where you can blah, blah, blah. That email probably would be like a huge engagement because they are a female solopreneur and you're talking just about that. And so I think that people can realize, that would be amazing if I could have that set in my business. But then it gets down to where that's hard to do. So is that the kind of service that you provide to your clients, where you could help them set up some of these automations to help that engagement increase?
Yeah, I do offer a done-for-you service to help with all that stuff. The other thing we didn't really mention is the other kind of engagement is basically website segmentation. So depending on what provider you use, you can actually set up tags on your website where it tracks, like, okay, the person not only clicked on this email, but they went here, 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 and here. Oh, well, gee, the people who open this email are all on this one sales page, and now you have this information of, okay, this guy's on my sales letter and has been on my sales letter for 10 minutes, maybe I should call him. And being able to create text alerts to yourself that says so-and-so is on this page. It gets really interesting, maybe a little bit creepy on the other side of it, but as a salesperson, it's incredibly valuable as well.
Yeah, and what you just mentioned is two tools working in tandem together, email and web. And I think that's where the true power comes in. Hey, so if people want to learn more about what you offer and how your packages work, what's the best way that they can reach out and connect?
It's my website, and it's mr-leads.com, so MR and then a dash and then LEADS. I'm offering a free 30-day package. It was not really a package, it was a 30-day e-course, basically 30 days to email marketing success. Where basically I send them an email a day for 30 days, very step-by-step on how to get started with email marketing. And then if they need additional help, I'm obviously out there to help them grow as well.
Awesome. Well, hey, Carlos, thank you for taking time to come on today. It was awesome and fun chatting with you.
Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.